Hey guys, how's it going? JJ here. So, the last guide was about Consume Monster, and I think a rather interesting deck. And especially, it's interesting because you have an exponential mechanic. And what I want to go over with you is another exponential deck, which you don't see that often on ladder, because, well, maybe some people don't like the mechanic itself too much, or it feels really bad if you lose with it. I personally think it's an awesome deck. I'm talking about the Axeman deck. Like, if you look into the statistics of leaders, I like to take that myself as just a construct of win rates, and you can think about yourself why certain leaders might be performing better. Like, for example, we have like Harald here in the past, one of the top performers. Also now really performing well. Like, for his popularity, he has a very, very good win rate. So what I would like to do with you guys, go a little bit about the deck building process and just let's get it going, right? So here we are. As always, guys, as a basic idea, I think it's good to just look at Gwent up, look at the percentages, and look especially why could this card be performing so well in this deck. And that's the question you should ask yourself always. Like, don't just auto-include the cards with good percentages. Like, we have, for example, the Axeman. Of course, this is the deck itself. This is why also the card performs. And then you would have like something like the Moon Pirate Captain or the Corsair. Why are they doing well? Well, they can pull you these sweet little Moon warships, which of course support the mechanic. Yeah? So let's just go into the gold, silver, and bronze slot. I will give you my suggestions. What you do out of it, that's your part. And in the next video, we're gonna go over some gameplay then. So let's get this going, and I will just go over the gold cards first. I usually like to start with the goldies. I think what you can do here, it's actually pretty simple. I mean, what we have as a top performer here is the Him. Him is a top performer in many Skellige archetypes because the card is just really, really good. The reason is probably the create mechanic. Like, actually, it's more about the flexibility of the card. You can either create a card from your opponent's deck, which is usually not too bad, or you get your Skjold into Spy out, which is, the Spy is very, very important, especially for the X-Men archetype. So yeah, the Him is the powerhouse of Skellige at the moment. Another reason why Skellige is doing so well also in this patch again. And yeah, let's get this going. We have Burna, Karate Heatwave, and Ragnarok as very top performers. I think it makes a lot of sense to have the Burna in there because she is just a Skellige Storm +6 and just a very, very good card, and especially in the Weather archetype. But where did I put her now? There she is. Burna is really good. She supports your X-Men mechanic. She's awesome, really. I can't even talk about enough. Like, if you have one X-Men in the row, and there are at least, if there are the 3 units, yeah, you get, what do you, the Skellige Storm deals 4, and then you get +3 extra. It's insane. Like 7 stats every round. Like, add another X-Men, have more fun, right? And let's go over the next part. I think it's rather interesting here. Like, what I think for myself is the weather that important for X-Men? And what I would like to think about is like, the weather is really good because you get like the X-Men more growing, but I think it's also like to make the deck consistently draw its weather is very important. And maybe include also some cards which just support consistency, because which is this is like the biggest problem you have with these exponential archetypes. Like sometimes you just don't get your mechanic. I think the heat wave is an auto include, and what I always like asking myself, is there something to include which maybe could perform better? Like, for example, like the Ragnarok is performing really well, and I think it also has its reasons, but especially against like decks like Greatsword, it's doing really poorly. But the reason why it's probably really good, the Golden Weather itself, is the Alchemy archetype. Against Nilfgaard Alchemy, the Ragnarok will be one of the top performers. So if you see more Alchemy, you can include that card. If you see more like Greatsword, Neckarish stuff, I would really include the Muzzle. I myself see more Alchemy on letters, so I include Ragnarok. That's also something you should do. Like, this is not just a deck building guide about one specific deck. This is like, how do you build decks and how do you approach this? I think that is the main message, I guess, I want to tell you guys here, yeah? For the silver slot, I mean, I would just go straight forward because I don't want to talk about certain strong cards too much. Like, Better Spy and Uldaric is in the deck, should be pretty clear. When you have like 4 other slots, just take a look. What is performing well? Why would it be performing well? I think pretty clearly Restore, yeah, it performs well in every Skellige deck because it's really, really good. So we get this Restore in there. Pretty easy, pretty simple. When we have Sigdrifa, why does she perform well? Well, she resurrects Axeman, and she also resurrects a powerhouse of the deck, which is Mr. Darren. Yeah? So just get these in there. It's really simple. These cards all support the mechanics, and I think building the silver slot of Skelliga Axeman is not the hardest thing because Skellige silver cards are really good. So sometimes you can tweak something in. Like usually like the last 2 cards you include are the harder choices. Like here you have like the Skellige Storm, which you see is performing pretty well, and you have Iris. So it's one of these 2 you can include. I mean, that's a pretty interesting part here because you could either say, okay, I include the Skellige Storm if there's less Alchemy Nilfgaard letter, because then you might need the extra weather. But if you say, well, I don't need that at the moment, I would like to have the extra strats with the Iris, I can see that. I also think Iris is really, really good. Yeah, it's just a meta call. Like, this is what I'm telling you guys. Do the meta calls, question the cards itself, and I personally think there's less Mandrake on ladder, less Merdrum on ladder. You can run her at the moment. If you see changes there, please change it. Don't just say JJ built this deck and now I'm gonna play it. This is not what I want here. I want to tell you guys how to build the decks yourself and what I personally, what kind of thought I put into it, yeah? So for the brawl slot, usually pretty simple. You see the top performers. Let's go in with them, because if they perform top, probably has its reasons. But here, the same again, there are some cards which just don't make that much sense that they are performing so well. I mean, or like at least you have to question first. Like, that we want to run, what you want to do there is like just do the basic stuff first. Like the warships are obviously a must run, the captains are a must run, and the corsairs as well, yeah? Because they are good, and there's also a reason they are good. Because they all support the mechanic, yeah? And then you have, it's the last cards again, we have the last cards of the brawl slot supporting the X-Men mechanic. So what I think always makes sense is at least one whale harpooner just to set up for your X-Mans a little bit. Like, sometimes even 2. They also synergize well with the Demon Corsairs. Sometimes you want to run 2. Depends on the matchups you encounter on ladder. There are some interesting things indeed here. You can ask yourself, why is the Tour Sarge veteran performing so well? He buffs... What does he do? Yeah, he's like 7 stats and buffs your Clan Tour Sarge units like the Axeman. And also this guy and Burner. So what he does is he protects them for dying, but how important is that? Very interesting actually to me, because what do you exactly see here is like just a 7 stat unit. Nothing special, right? If you say he buffs your deck, kinda interesting. Like as it stands here, if you would run 3 of them, you would buff 2 of them with everyone who play. 3 Axemen is plus 5 stats. When you buff the Darren at 6, and you also buff Burner at 7, go up to 14 stats. You don't always draw your whole deck, so on average it's probably 12, 11 stats. Can give him an extra stat because he also buffs the X-Men out of range. Like, he would be 9 to 10 stats then. And that's probably why he's performing that well. Interesting card to me. I don't think it works so well. I will try the next video. Definitely food for thought. These are the things I mean. But just don't take these numbers for granted. I personally think Lacerate performing less well. I think it's interesting. And the rest is just really basic material. But the Priestess performs not well, of course, because you need to get... What people trying to do with the Priestess, they want to have 2 big X-Men rounds. Like, as it works, you can do usually 1 big X-Men round, and the other round you can win with some raw stats or with Weather itself. So, gameplay-wise, we're gonna go into that next time. I personally just like the Whale Harpooner Lacerate option. I tried it out. I think Lacerate is sweet just as 1 row Punisher, and the Whale Harpooners are just sweet because you have to position your X-Men in the first part, and it helps a lot to support them. Of course, they don't perform the super... They're not the super top performers, but they're definitely doing well, right? 52.1%. Interesting. The most interesting part for me is the Tour Sarge veteran here. Well, as it stands again, we built a sweet deck. It's nothing super new, guys. For me personally, these videos are more about showing you guys how to approach this. We're gonna also go over this deck gameplay-wise again, and then we are just finished with more Gwent content, and also I hope I helped making you better players, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys next time.